It's actually statewide. It's affecting the islands, Bass Strait and the entire state. The liaison regionally with the Bureau have indicated that within each region it will start to commence at that intensity of 110 to 120 kilometres around 5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
So what is the SES preparing for damage?
Yeah, absolutely. So although the wind direction is from the northwest, which is what Tasmania is used to, given the notification and in liaison with the Bureau, those wind speeds are damaging, and 120 kilometres an hour at ground level is, there's significant winds and have damaging effects. As part of the process, in recognition or in anticipation of those winds commencing tomorrow, when we stand up a level of preparedness and have regional operations centres active to be able to deal with requests for assistance as they arise.
What sort of wind speeds have you seen already?
Not excessively high, only 60 to 70 kilometres an hour. I've actually got two events in the southern region of Dromedary at the moment where there was a corridor of wind that came through, caused minor structural damage to two roofs on two separate homes.
Are you concerned at all about pre-existing damage from the recent weather event and how that might make things worse?
Yeah, look, our education programs and certainly our liaison within the communities, people in Tasmania once have been affected by an event generally makes them, brings it to the forefront of their mind, and they've generally been really good at preparing their properties. This time of year as Tasmanians we understand that we live in this environment whereby the wind speeds start to increase up to sort of October. So I dare say any significant damage or even minimal damage that was sustained in previous events should have been righted by now, and I don't expect that we should have any issues that are legacy issues from the previous events.
Is there going to be any rain or storms coming along with this wind?
Yeah, there's been thunderstorms forecast with up to 30 to 40 millimetres of rain in the northern and northwestern areas of the state, which will coincide with that wind, which is a timely reminder for people. We urge people, given the fact that the soil is extremely wet at this time of the year, given that rainfall that we've had, with additional rain that's going to come with these winds, people need to be very, very mindful of the fact the soil is very wet and these high wind speeds make trees more vulnerable to coming down.
How many hands on deck, Leon? Are we going to be fully staffed in the SES?
Yeah, our three regional operations centres, north, south and northwest, will be fully resourced by 4 a.m. tomorrow morning with a combination of SES staff and volunteers. And given the significance of this event, we will have our regional volunteer units on standby and available to be able to respond in a really timely manner.
Have you had any calls out already?
What can people do to prepare for this event?
Yeah, so preparation of your property is absolutely critical. Like we say, we live in a windy environment, but people need to go out, prepare their property by securing any loose items. Be very, very mindful of not anything loose, any debris that's in their yards, and they need to prepare their property by maintenance, like regular maintenance, fix the roofing, iron down, etc. If you notice anything that's becoming dislodged around your home, make a concerted effort to rectify that prior to the wind events.
Have you had any calls out already? If so, how many and what for?
Yeah, we've had two in the southern region around the Dromedary area for minor roof damage, which was exactly that. Loose roofing iron, in high winds, the problem will be exacerbated.
So
are there any particular areas that will be hit hardest?
No, they're saying 110 to 120 kilometres down to ground level, but by higher wind speeds at altitude. So with the forecast as has been provided to us, it's like we said, it's right across the state. So generally, depending on the topography, the wind speeds can be exacerbated, so it's really hard to pinpoint. So we really need to take heed of the warning from a statewide perspective and ensure that we take precautions to prepare our properties and our yards, etc.
Did you say those peak gusts were happening at 5 a.m. or it's starting from?
No, they're forecast to sort of commence with just ahead of that front at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So the bomb have indicated to us that we can start to expect those really high wind speeds around 5 a.m.
Are you expecting, I suppose, the main damage to be fallen trees and things, or you just don't know?
No, you just don't know. It's hard to say. Look, with the wet soil at those high wind speeds, although it's coming from the direction that the wind usually does, it is 10 to 20 kilometres an hour higher wind speed. So there's a higher chance that trees will come down, which will cause power outages, etc. potentially. But it's more so, the problem calls that we get are people not taking heed of the advice that SES give in regard to securing items around their property. And we have a lot of problems with, what we call missiles and missile hazards associated with debris that hasn't been secured.
Is high tides a potential issue with inundation?
Yeah, so there's the king tide and the high tide. We're expecting tides more so on the northern coast of Tasmania, 30 to 40 centimetres above the normal high tide line. Those municipalities have been notified of that event. It's not out of the ordinary, that event, and it's not of any real concern. Probably of more concern on the northern coast, around the northwestern region, is the fact that we get 30 to 40 more centimetres of water with high winds blowing that into the shore, which causes a hazardous driving environment on the roads around the coast.
Would you encourage people to stay indoors if possible tomorrow?
Yeah, look, gauge the wind speed, gauge what's happening, but certainly when it's at its worst and you're in a situation whereby that wind is causing issues, you don't venture out in the wind unless you really need to. Plan around that, but certainly don't put yourself in a vulnerable situation by venturing out into that.
We saw the freak accident and the fatal incident in Melbourne the other day with the high winds, a tree coming down across the road. How crucial is it that people listen to this advice?
Absolutely. So people need to be very mindful of the environment in which they operate. Be very conscious of working around trees, but very much more so in this environment whereby the soil is very wet. We are looking extremely high winds compared to what we used to, with a greater potential for trees to come down, so you need to be very vigilant in that regard.
Do people need to be patient also with damage and the response from the SES?
We've got 32 crews around the state now. We're relatively well resourced within each region. However, we do triage our jobs and we'll resource the highest priority jobs in priority order. We're very well resourced within our regional operations centres, and when people do call the State Emergency Service, they do fully understand the time frame in which we'll respond. It's really important that when you do call 132 500 that you are clear on the situation and try and articulate that to us, allowing us to provide the best service to you.
So you're expecting a busy few hours ahead?
Preparation today, but we are anticipating, based on the intelligence from the Bureau, to probably gear up, and we're anticipating sort of starting to get busy early hours of tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Just a second.